Okay, so this is a totally spontaneous video, but I do want to make it now before I sort of pass it over. Sometimes I find topics to talk about, and what happens is several come up at once because they're on my mind or because I've come across them online, and I feel that they're noteworthy. But sometimes I pass them over. This one I really don't want to pass over. I think it's very important because it actually involves, excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold. It actually involves social media. So this is the headline from BBC News. Pakistan asked Facebook to help fight blasphemy. I'm not going to read out the whole article because it's quite lengthy, but I'll read out the first few paragraphs, you'll get the idea. Pakistan says it has asked Facebook to help investigate blasphemous content posted on the social network by Pakistanis. Facebook has agreed to send a team to Pakistan to address reservations about content on the social media site, according to the Interior Ministry. Blasphemy is a highly sensitive and incendiary issue in Pakistan. Critics say blasphemy laws, which allow the death penalty in some cases, are often misused to oppress minorities. Earlier this week, Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif voiced his support for a wide-ranging crackdown on blasphemous content on social media. In a statement on his party's official Twitter account, he described blasphemy as an unpardonable offence. And it basically goes on to talk about the legal issues around this. I'm going to be quite blunt here. Excuse me. I'm going to be quite blunt. I believe this is simply something that has no place in the modern world. Um, I think Pakistan's problems are in large part because of its religious backward mentality. And it's one thing for this repressive mindset to persist in Pakistan, but it is intolerable that this theocracy is exported abroad. And that's essentially what seems to be happening here. Those Pakistanis who are brave enough to speak out against it, those Pakistanis who find themselves being charged with blasphemy laws, um, it's very similar to the situation in Thailand, but on a bigger scale because Pakistan has a much bigger population than Thailand, almost three times as much, about 170 million people. Um, it just sickens me, to be quite honest. It sickens me to the core that I live in a world where people with such a sick mindset, and I do believe it is a sick mindset. And the thing about this is, it's not ignorant peasants we're talking about. In many cases, these are educated people, as I mentioned before. And I've seen some Pakistanis in Britain justify this. I just can't get my head around that. And I do believe that we really, really, really need to be assertive. You know, God knows these days our constitutional issues are uncertain, but one thing we need to be certain about is our values. And I would hope that is something even the SNP would agree on. That so even in independent Scotland, they would agree with the need to preserve liberal democratic values. It's barbaric. Punishing someone for having an opinion on religious matters is, in my view, barbaric. And I would make this point. If, for example, Islam is such a strong religion, why does it need such laws? If the Prophet is so all knowing and all powerful, why does he need such laws to protect him? The truth is that these theocratic thugs, and that's what they are, they're cards. They don't want intellectual debate, they want to repress people. And it just, I find it baffling that in a country that has nuclear weapons and that has high rise developments and major urban projects going on in Karachi and Lahore, can at the same time have laws that belong in another time. Now, I suspect this is the Pakistani government trying to toe a fine line. It's not even the Pakistani government that is the most extreme faction here. I mean, it's pretty disgraceful that they are pushing it. But you know, it's a populist thing. It's them playing politics. The real issue here is a very influential conservative base in Pakistani politics. Um, and I've been looking at this for a number of years, and it seems to me that firstly, it goes without saying you can't generalize a country of 170, 180 million people. Of course, there is a moderate liberal faction in Pakistan, even a secular faction. But the conservative faction is so strong that within itself it's subdivided. There's ultra conservative factions. Um, but the truth is, Pakistan is a deeply conservative country, and that's unfortunate. Now, the rest of the world may not be able to change the situation in countries like Pakistan, and Pakistan's not alone, there's others. But I think it would be an utter disgrace if Mark Zuckerberg or Sheryl Sandberg or other Facebook CEOs cave into this. There comes a point when ethics has to go above profit. And I do think, I don't want to criticize Mark Zuckerberg too much because I'd be a hypocrite. I've used Facebook. I'm grateful for Facebook. But I do think that in recent years, there's been many examples of this company being so determined to expand its field, its global reach, that they are prepared to sacrifice basic values. Now, unless I'm mistaken, Mark Zuckerberg has expressed his belief in free speech. You cannot, on one hand, believe in something like free expression, such a sacrosanct thing, whilst then basically towing up a repressive policy like this. So, if I was Facebook, I would say, okay, if that's the attitude you're going to take, we're not going to do business with you. We're going to close down our offices. Now, some might say this makes the situation harder for Pakistani dissidents. I don't know. What you need to remember is these Islamists are complete hypocritical scumbags. They rant and rave about blasphemy, and yet they're using this website, which is a product of the 21st century. And I have no doubt the same guys and some women will be absolutely practicing hypocrisy. The most hardline Islamists very often would have no problem looking at scantily clad women when no one's looking. These guys are complete hypocrites. And they're thugs, they're cards. It's always about mob mentality. I hate them, to be quite frank about it. Um, and I'm aware this will be a controversial video, but I've taken the view, so long as I'm in a country that respects freedom of expression, to hell with what people think of me. And if I go to Pakistan, which is highly unlikely, but if I do, I'm going to respect the laws. I'm not going to be stupid because I don't want the death sentence on me. And I don't want some insane mob to, kill me. Um, but I just think it's tragic and infuriating that this Neanderthal bullshit, and I apologize to Neanderthals because this religious fanaticism, and that's what it is, persists. It sickens me. What we can do, what we absolutely can do in countries like the UK is say to the Pakistani diaspora here, you respect our values or you go back to Pakistan. And I know that's a controversial statement to make because you have third, fourth generation Pakistani Britons. They form a sizable minority in this country. And before anyone accuses me of racism, there's many Pakistanis who absolutely uphold British values and believe in British values. But the fact of the matter is there are many who don't. And simply stating that should not be controversial. It's a fact. Look at social media. Look at this story on Facebook and see the responses. And look at the profiles of the people making those responses. I came across a lawyer in London, Pakistani lawyer, who was justifying it. Like I said, we're not talking about ignorant peasants, we're talking about educated people here. But in my view, they're extremists. You see, religious extremism isn't just about terrorism, it's also about condoning barbaric practices, severe human rights abuses, and that's what this is. So the thing is, a lot of these people will say things like, well, we hate ISIS, we're against terrorism, Islam is a religion of peace. But the same people will have no problem with adulterers and homosexuals and Jews and others that don't conform to their very backward mindset being stoned to death. So ultimately, it comes down to a question of what do you put first? Political sensitivities or social sensitivities or basic values, basic principles. I'm talking about our principles. I don't give a damn about their principles. As far as I'm concerned, they're manure. And I really don't give a damn if this video is provocative. There's not a damn thing they can do to me. They can stew away in their fucking backward mindset. I think these people are scumbags. I think they're thugs. I think they're cards. And they always use mob mentality. Now, that's classic card behavior. You know, if someone is even accused of questioning this law, that's considered an offence. So, absolutely, Facebook should not be humouring this. And like I said, it's not the first time. I'm not going to say I'm going to quit Facebook or something like that because I'm not going to do that. I've got too many connections online. But I am very disappointed that Facebook isn't taking a more assertive line on this. I don't really know what the right approach is. I don't know if, threatening to close business in Pakistan would be the right answer because, of course, that would then disconnect moderates and secularists. But certainly they need to send out a message. We're not going to be bullied into kowtowing to your regressive policies. I also believe that when countries like Britain do trade with Pakistan, even keeping in mind the long history, we have to put our values first. We have to. Pakistan needs the UK far more than the UK needs Pakistan. It's a poor country. But I have to say, sometimes my sympathies are limited. Back in 2010, or was it 2010, major floods devastated a lot of people. Pakistan is a country that does have severe problems with climate change effects, with severe flooding, with corruption, with pollution, with all the problems that developing countries face. And yet, the priority for so many Pakistanis is who commits blasphemy. Now, what sort of fucked up mentality is that? Some people will say I'm not being diplomatic, but here's the thing, I'm not demonizing all Pakistanis. I'm saying the simple fact that there is a very large conservative contingent there who have this regressive mentality. I have enormous respect for those brave Pakistanis who speak out. I have enormous respect for those people who absolutely agree with what I'm saying. I've spoken to them. I think they're very brave people. Sometimes I have no other choice. But it absolutely shouldn't be a case that when they come to Western countries, they shouldn't have to live in fear from these thugs. I really, really staunchly believe that as soon as someone arrives at immigration at Heathrow, they should be asked questions about their views on these things. And if their answer to blasphemy is, I believe that is a punishable crime, they shouldn't be allowed entry. I really believe that. Now, there will be some who say that there are certain Christian statutes that still have blasphemy on the books. That may be true, but the reality is that's an archaic law. I do think they should be wiped off, where there's medieval Christian laws attending to blasphemy or whatever. But the fact is, in most circumstances, they are not acted upon. And there is simply no comparison between the social situation. So, yeah, there may be certain statutes in place, but 99.9% of the public either won't care, will be oblivious to it, or will not want it to be severely acted on. And it is true that things have changed. It is true that right up until the 50s, we were quite a bit more conservative on censorship issues, on issues to do with lewd behaviour. I mean, it's only the 60s we decriminalised homosexuality. But acknowledging that history doesn't change the facts of today. And it pisses me right off that people could use social networking sites, can be lawyers, can be educated people, and yet cling on to this sick law, this sick mindset that you can punish someone for daring to criticize religion? How thin skinned are you? How overly sensitive are you? And how weak is your religion that you need to punish people for questioning it? If Islam is really so strong, why does it need such laws to protect it? That's a basic question. So, I don't give a damn who I've offended in this video. I care far more for those people who are being persecuted. This isn't about me. I'm trying to give some sort of voice to those people who are persecuted. Now, whether I keep comments open or not, I don't know. I've never been fond of giving a platform to people who don't want to give other people platforms. Who want to persecute people, who have no problem advocating murder. To put things in context, a few years ago, Mumtaz Qadri, the murderer, the thug who killed Governor Salman Taseer, who was a governor who defended a Christian woman from blasphemy charges, he was assassinated by this thug, Mumtaz Qadri. Just to put things in context, if anyone thinks I'm exaggerating, there are literally millions of Pakistanis who salute this scumbag. He was executed because murder is a capital offence in Pakistan. But the fact that millions of people support him is really telling. Really is. And before people get on to issues like, oh, there's extremism in every country, of course there is. What I'm talking about here, though, is the widespread acceptance of this thing. And it's sick. And it depresses and angers me very much. But to hell with their sensitivities, to hell with it. I really, really do think that we need to be assertive. Because governments like that in Pakistan will always play the victim. When Western governments stand up to them and say, you know, you're doing, you're pushing this repressive law that is such a grave violation of human rights, they will talk about neocolonialism, and they will use all that sort of same old worn out jargon. It's such bullshit. I have no respect for this. No respect. Like I say, if I go to Pakistan, I'll obey the laws. I won't commit blasphemy, you know. But at the moment, just to clarify, I'm in my country. I'm therefore subject to British legislation. And in the United Kingdom, thank God, thank Allah, thank whatever deity is up there, we are not subject to blasphemy laws. So I will close this video by saying to hell with blasphemy laws. If you support blasphemy laws, fuck you. I have no respect for you. I don't care how decent a person you are in other regards. If you think it is okay to kill someone for offending religion, then you're fucked up in the head. And you may justify that in yourself by the fact that all your neighbours think the same way. Well, you know what? Pakistan is a backward country because of this mindset. And I don't care if that's offensive, because it is the truth. Every country has had a point where it is backward for one particularly regressive reason. Now, take the United States, for example. If you think I'm being biased, take the United States. The United States was backward, in my opinion, when it had slavery. That was backward. England was backward when we burned witches. It was hundreds of years ago, but it was backward. That was religious extremism. But this is the 21st century. Disgusting, really is. I'll leave it there.